Hey there, Warhawks. Colonel Wilson again with my wingman, Chief Morgan. Happy Friday. It is Freeform Friday once again. We are here, Season 2, Episode 12. We believe that is Episode 60 overall, Chief.
Sure.
Great to have you. It's been a busy week. Had a busy week last week. I appreciate you and Colonel Irick covering down on Freeform Friday. I was taking a little bit of leave. My son had his parents' weekend back at the Citadel. It was nice to be able to go. I appreciate having you guys cover. But while I was gone, it wasn't just the week that you had to cover down. We had a busy weekend, so I've heard. I wasn't here for it. Would you mind walking through what you guys were up to this weekend while I was away?
Yeah, no problem, sir. So, every time you're away, we tend to get a little out of control here. So we had the Undersecretary of the Air Force come and visit with some of our trainees and some of our instructors and walk through the campus. And to me, she was very impressed and very supportive of everything that the team does here. It was a good visit overall, and I think we're going to host her again in the future. So
that's great.
Yeah,
a little Saturday work. We obviously can't talk about those types of visits before they happen, so we try and really thank and emphasize everybody that put all the time and energy into those visits. So it was great to be able to show off our mission. I heard it went tremendously well. There was some really good discussion on a number of things. But the bottom line is, foundationally, how do you build an airman and a guardian? Showed her that, check. And then how do you fight through COVID? Showed her that, check. So great work by the team, and many thanks to all those that came in on a Saturday. Now, I say it came in on a Saturday. The reality is that those lines push, the BMT line squadrons push every single day. So not that big a deal, honestly. And then we're also blessed because my boss was here. She came in and she participated in the event. General Edmondson was there as well, and it was really good. I think this was our first big dog and pony with her and another distinguished leader, senior leader and distinguished visitor. So it was good to have her. And when she stayed too. So that was pretty cool. So we landed, Nisa and Claire and we landed pretty late on Sunday, and man, we were right back after it on Monday. We had our Tedx event. It was the first TED Talk Tedx event in Air Education and Training Command, and we pulled it off right here at Lackland. And the first speaker on the agenda was General Edmondson to talk about readiness and airmanship, and that was pretty cool. Any thoughts on the TEDx event?
So just overall, I mean, General Edmondson did a great job of just setting the foundation of what we do within this enterprise and how we're starting to transform and where we need to go to develop the airmen we need for tomorrow. And she kind of highlighted our three priorities within the wing without actually highlighting them. So she talked about people, she talked about modernization, and she talked about partnerships. And then she was followed by 15 other speakers who I think just did an amazing job kind of capturing how they're innovating or how they're leading or how they're caring for people. And there was two in particular that I thought were just really kind of stood out. So I'll give them a bit of a shout out. So Mr. Jason Womack from the Air University's Leadership Development course, he was able to come out and he gave a great TED Talk to kind of get us moving. And he actually tied in, I mean, just so many different things with just looking back on it, like strategic competition and how leading the airmen that we need for tomorrow is an important part of our job and setting the foundation. And then Captain Barrow from Air Force Gaming came in and talked about how that social networking kind of environment and that helped the Air Force actually from a technological aspect and an innovative aspect, one, come together during the pandemic, right, and create additional partnerships, but two, how they started finding their capabilities and then building on each other and just really getting after, taking care of themselves during that. And that was, it spoke a lot about connections, but to me, it also spoke a lot about innovations, about people taking the knowledge that they have and applying it to something that they felt was of value in order to create something spectacular. And Air Force Gaming now, I mean, it's a huge deal. It is, and it's all about connection and innovation. So yeah, those are the two big things for me.
Yeah, that's good. It fit not only right in line with our strategic plan and people modernization partnerships, but the message that we got just a week earlier at the Wing Commanders and Senior Enlisted Conference We talked about one team, one fight with Secretary Kendall, and that was all about partnerships. We talked about innovation and continually evolving to be able to stay ahead of our adversaries. That's all about modernization. And then we talked about our true strategic advantage is our people. It's our airmen. That's what gives us our advantage over any of our adversaries and always will. And so that, like I said, that's people. And so Secretary Kendall talked about the first one. General Brown talked about the second one. Chief Master Sergeant, the Air Force Bass talked about the third one.
That's right.
We were right in line. Tedx was right in line. It was really cool, and it all kind of came together. Starting with in the morning, we started with the Major General as our first speaker, and we ended with the Staff Sergeant as our one of our last speaker in the morning. With every rank, civilian, military, and everyone in between. We
Academia
had from the University of New Hampshire. Miss Williams came in. That was very motivational to talk about her evolution and what was it? Feedback was a big one. And failure is always on the what was it? It was success is always on the opposite side of fear. Fear, yes. I love that. Success is always on the opposite side of fear. But we had that, and then we transitioned really quick into the Senior Leaders Conference, 37 Training Wing Senior Leaders Conference. We had all of our command teams from squadron to the wing. We had our wing staff agency. We had our civic leaders and our honorary commanders. We had spouses. It was a great event. We did a lot, really focused heavily on our strategic plan. Really proud of operationalizing the Warhawk Way. We've made some huge strides from last July, where we've not only built the plan, we've articulated the plan, communicated the plan, we've got buy-in on the plan, and now we're about 50% of the way of executing everything that was in plan. So what we know, and we talked about Simon Sinek, you want to talk about that real quick? Finite versus an infinite game?
So the infinite game, what we really are is we're not trying to get to a specific end state. We're trying to change the way we look at things and the way we develop each other and the way we look at modernization and partnerships. So it's a never-ending process that we're going through. So it's definitely infinite in that we need to keep adapting and we need to keep looking towards, okay, so we tweaked it a little bit this way. How can we do this better in the future? And then we do the thing better in the future, and then we say, okay, now how can we do it better in the future again? And it just never stops. I like to say upgrade training never stops. And that applies to the mission too. So
I like to think of it in terms of success and how do you define success. We've talked about this a lot. Success you can't be defined by an end state, because there's never an end state. Success is defined in your ability to change, shift, adapt to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish at that point in time. And the flexibility and the agility in that process should be defined as success.
One other thing I would point out about the infinite game and Mr. Sinek and that particular talk is that one of the things he talks about is making decision using values, right? And if we know what our values are, it's we could do the core values, right? But we know what our organizational values are within our mission set. Treat people with dignity and respect. Build the airman and guardian of tomorrow. These are all they sound like missions, but they're values, because being an airman is something of value, and being a guardian is something of value, and being treated as a person of value. When we think about those and how we execute our mission, we can never steer off the path of righteousness, because we're just moving forward knowing that we're doing so within our own value sets. And we create a culture of mutual accountability, where if we see something, we say, hey man, that's not right, we shouldn't be doing that, and then we fix ourselves. And
mutual accountability, I think the other side of that is trust. Because if you have mutual accountability, that means you trust, and that you trust your units to hold themselves accountable, and they trust each other to hold themselves accountable, and when they're held accountable, they're okay with it because they trust each other.
And that's one thing that we do here is we place a lot of trust in our faculty and staff, from any of the T-Series instructors behind the podium to the MTTs we send out to do strategic competition and build partnership capacity, to our military training instructors and our military training leaders who take care of airmen. We trust them a lot.
Well, you know who trusts us? The parents of the sons and daughters of our nation.
Yes.
And so we want to earn that trust every single day. We have to earn that trust.
That's right.
That's good. Hey, we've got some command team calls, so we love communicating. Real quick, before we get to the command team calls, I just also wanted to shout out to Sergeant McCarty. The 343rd Training Squadron. Comes to dignity and respect. Man, we had a great session. We talked about carrying the load for each other, and really the message that I took away from it, when it comes to dignity and respect, and you show that and you share that and you share your stories and have a common understanding, it brings people together, it unifies, and when you unify, that's a mission enabler and a mission enhancement. And he did a great job of walking everybody through that. For those that weren't, obviously weren't part of it, we took everybody that I described in the SLC, we put them around in a massive circle in a huge ballroom, and we spoke about some really challenging things that are hard to talk about. But again, it comes back to trust, and to truly trust someone, you have to understand their story, and you have to treat them with dignity and respect, and you should expect to be treated with dignity and respect.
We talk about uncomfortable conversations, right? What an icebreaker to get past that. Wow, uncomfortable conversations are okay to have.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you learn, right? And that's how you get comfortable, is by first being uncomfortable. And one of the biggest things I took from Sarah McCarty and his we call it the gateway group discussion, was that you never understand that the person you're talking to has a life that is as rich and as meaningful as your own, until you take time to ask, right? And then you have to be a little bit vulnerable, because when you're asked, you have to actually share what you're comfortable with. And I just thought it was amazing of that. It really was.
Yeah, he's well suited for that.
Yes.
We know he's got that guy's got a future.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Okay. Command team calls. We got that. So we had traditionally, this will be, I think, my 5th command team call in my tenure here. We do one a quarter. We've traditionally broken it out either by organization or by rank, grade, demographics. We're going to do something a little bit different this time, because that's typically taken us 5 or 6 sessions to get through each one. We're just going to break it up. We're going to do the just because we're trying different things, we're going to do the wing at large, and we're going to have 2 different sessions. The first session is going to be held on 12th of October from 1330 to 1500. That's coming up Tuesday. And the next one's going to be the Thursday, 14 October from 1430 to 1600. There's some emphasis areas for certain groups to send to certain ones, so we don't overfill anyone.
Yeah.
But they're going to be in the PRC auditorium, which has a fairly large capacity, so should be able to accommodate everybody. Yeah. And we will have a Zoom option for all our geographically separated units only. It is not an open Zoom. Our desire is to get our teammates together and communicate in person as best we can.
We need to get back to a little bit of analog within COVID safety precautions and mitigation. And it's important for us to do face-to-face communication. I think it has more meaning. And we get to see the after things. Nobody stays after on a Zoom call with 400 other people to go, hey boss, I have a question for you, right? Because if they did, they would have just asked it during the middle. There's a lot more value to the in-person because of those types of things.
That's right. Yeah, and we hope everybody comes with questions. We're definitely going to have a longer Q&A session probably than we normally had, and we're going to use Slido as we have, but we would love for somebody to grab that microphone, stand up, and represent in person. That would be awesome too. But we'll take the questions however we get them, because if you're asking questions, that's feedback for us, and feedback for us is invaluable, and we'll always take it. I want to talk about the COVID-19 vaccine. As everybody knows, we'll start with the military. Is a mandatory vaccine issuance. Has to be completed by the 2nd of November, which means the Pfizer one is the FDA approved. And in order to receive the first 2 shots and have the 14-day post period, you have had to start by 28 September. So we're obviously past that. We're working through that right now, and that's moving along. A lot of accounting and trying to make sure we know everybody's status, and that's pretty normal, I think. And so now the big change that's coming up is that the directive, although we have not issued implementation guidance or seen implementation guidance for our wing specifically, but the directive is out there for all our civilian airmen as well for the vaccine. They're going to be required to be vaccinated by the 22nd of November. So there's still some questions to be answered on that we're waiting on, and there's going to be a lot of questions we know that come down. But the bottom line is all active duty military members by the 2nd of November need to be vaccinated. All civilian civil servants in our wing have to be vaccinated by the 22nd of November, and I believe all guardsmen and reservists that are not on active orders are 2nd of December is what I'm tracking. So that's all coming up. That's all coming up. And we appreciate everybody. The bottom line is it's all about keeping people safe. It's all about continuing on the training pipeline. It's all about continuing on the security cooperation mission. The best way that we can do that is by making sure everybody's safe and getting them vaccinated.
It's a readiness issue.
It is. And readiness for us looks like training.
Mm-hmm.
And so each one's intertwined. I wanted to throw a quick note out when it comes to partnerships. We've talked a little bit about the train pipeline here. When it comes to partnerships, we think about two different organizations, but one is DLI ELC. We are celebrating our 60 years of partnership with Kuwait. We have a country liaison officer here. That means an in-resident member of the military service from Kuwait, and it's Lieutenant Colonel Nasser Al-Baghali. And so he presented a gift to Colonel Schaefer and his team on the 24th of September to commemorate 60 years of partnership. And you and I spoke real quickly before that. We've both been to Kuwait, spent some time in Kuwait.
Both times at the Rock, Arif John.
I was at Jabber, I think. So grateful to have a safe haven, especially during times of war. Very grateful for our relationship there, and thank you to our Kuwaiti partners for that and for their support of this Defense Security Cooperation mission that we run here. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about year-end. Happy New Year. We are in fiscal year 22, and I'm really happy to say that because we had a great last day of fiscal year 21. Whenever you get some spare change to fall out of the cushions and you're able to go out and award some contracts at the end of the year, life is pretty good. And so we had a nice list, just like probably every other wing does. And we were successful in basically funding every requirement we had. So that was really nice because a lot of time from our, and a big thanks to our teams that made sure year-end went well. We had our FM folks and Von Welchel and his team, and we had all of our resource advisors
throughout the wing, in the groups.
That's right, at the groups and the squadrons that had to line up and get all the documentation for those acquisition packages in, and then we had our partners in the 502nd Contracting Squadron, and really the 502nd Civil Engineer Group that all were big supporters.
And the LRS too, and the LRS.
And LRS in our supply. So
I don't think people understand like how frustrating and nerve-wracking end of fiscal year can really be. I mean, we were getting emails at 1 a.m. talking about this is where we're at with the status, because they had submitted orders well before and they were just trying to figure out where it was and all of that, and just the amount of time and effort and work that this team puts in every year to get this done for us, and to be not just get these things done that we need for mission, but to be responsible stewards of the taxpayer dollar. I mean, it's just amazing, and the amount of responsibility we ask them to execute on is just crazy.
So I went to bed on Thursday night, and I was tracking that the team was there, burning the midnight oil, hoping for money to shake out. And I woke up and I read my email on Friday morning, and it's like, oh, we funded everything. It was like waking up on Christmas Day and looking at all your gifts. Of course, these weren't gifts; these were well earned and work. But we talk about strategy. Well, a strategy's only so good. At some point, you've got to be able to execute your strategy, and it takes resources, and it takes equipment, and it takes contracts, and it takes services, and it takes commodities to execute your mission strategy. And so it was great to see all of that and look at it and say, we got that funding, and go, that aligns to our strategy. I know exactly where it aligns, and we're actually making it happen. So thank you again to the team. And then finally, just
3-day weekend.
We got a 3-day weekend. And so the obligatory message with every 3-day weekend is, let's come back. Let's come back safely. Let's come back with our health, and let's come back with honor. Because we don't want to. We want everybody to go out. We want everybody to have fun, but we want them to come back in a good way, in the way that they hope that come Monday morning that they would, and represent our United States Air Force and our United States Space Force well. And so encourage everybody. It's been a busy couple of weeks, no doubt about it. It'd be good to take a knee for an extra day. Mission depending, of course. We know there's some instructors out there that won't be able to do that, and we thank them for being on duty during those days, and we thank the families who won't necessarily have their airman or their guardian there with them. But we just want to say, hey, enjoy the 3-day weekend. Please be safe, and please be responsible while you're out there. So with that, we wrap up Freeform Friday, and we say everybody have a great long weekend. And we are out. Warthog's trained to win.